Hello and welcome to Soothing Pod Sleep Stories. I am Laura, and today I would like you to be my fellow traveller on our shared journey to faraway lands and times. Will Robin Hood, the politest robber in all of England, be able to win the golden arrow? Let's first relax and then find out. Before we begin, let us take a moment to find comfort in the space we are in. As you lay in your bed, safe and cozy, close your eyes and let your body relax. Release any tension you may be feeling in your body. Search throughout yourself to see where you may be feeling any leftover weight from the day. Take time to pay attention to how your neck, shoulders, back, and legs feel. Find the best position for them and make sure all your muscles are loose. Once your body feels free, it is time to quiet your mind. Here, safe and warm in bed, there is no need to think of the tasks of the day. All you need to do is clear your thoughts. You are now ready to listen to the story. A long time ago, during the medieval period, a time in history where knights, princesses, and kings lived in big solid stone castles, King Richard the Lionheart ruled over England. Richard the Lionheart was a kind and just king. The English people loved him, and they followed his every command wholeheartedly. And under his rule, England grew secure and prosperous. But the time came when King Richard had to go on an all-important crusade in a faraway land. So, he entrusted the throne to his brother, Prince John. Prince John was to rule England in his place until he got back from the crusade. Don't worry, brother. While you're at the crusades, I will take excellent care of England, Prince John said to Richard, shedding crocodile tears. But as soon as King Richard and his knights were out of sight, Prince John gave an evil grin. England now belongs to me, he claimed, as he rubbed his hands. Unlike Richard the Lionheart, Prince John was lazy, greedy, and cared only for gold. And because what he wanted to do was just sit and eat on the throne the whole day, he appointed the Sheriff of Nottingham to do most of his wicked deeds for him, a task that the sheriff delighted in doing. And so began the evil rule of Prince John and the Sheriff of Nottingham. They taxed the people of England until they could no longer pay, and when that happened, they took whatever they wanted. The people were miserable under Prince John's rule. One of those people who fell victim to Prince John's rule was a nobleman named Robin of Locksley. Robin, like King Richard, went to fight in the Crusades. But when he came back, instead of a hearty thank you, he found his mansion burned down. The Sheriff of Nottingham also hunted him down for crimes that he didn't commit. When the sheriff and his men came to arrest him, Robin escaped the Sheriff of Nottingham by hiding in the thick and mysterious Sherwood Forest. Since he was now a wanted man, Robin stayed in Sherwood Forest. It wasn't long before other men, who also fell victim to the unjust rule of Prince John and the Sheriff of Nottingham, joined him. Among these were Little John, who was not so little at 7 feet, Will Scarlet, Much the Miller's Son, and Friar Tuck. These small bands of misfits worked together to bring justice back in their own way. They stole the gold that the Sheriff of Nottingham unjustly collected and gave it back to the poor. And it wasn't long before the English dubbed Robin of Locksley and his friends as Robin Hood and his merry men, the bandits who robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. And this is one of their stories. Robin Hood and his merry men were always a step ahead of the Sheriff of Nottingham. They stole from him every occasion they could, and made him look like a fool. One day, after being tricked several times by Robin Hood and his men out of a few thousand pieces of gold just a few days before, the sheriff was drinking ale with his friend, the abbot. My, I have to say that I am impressed by how you are handling being taken for a fool by Robin and his gang last week. Most of the time, you'd be breaking things and having a big fit, the abbot said to the sheriff. My dear abbot, I've decided that throwing a fit and having the guards go after Robin and his men is useless. I've tried to use muscle before and it didn't work. This time I'll use my brains. If I can't capture Robin Hood, I have a plan that'll have Robin Hood and his pesky merry men come to me, the sheriff said as he took a big gulp of the frothy ale. The ale tasted more bitter than usual. The sheriff wasn't sure if it was just the ale itself, or if it was the fact that they tricked him into having dinner with Robin and his gang just last week. He unknowingly ate with the enemy, and they even made him promise not to hurt them. He still felt ill whenever he thought about it. Well, he had no intention of keeping that promise. Sheriff, you were going to tell me the plan to capture Robin Hood, the abbot said, interrupting the sheriff's thoughts. Ah, yes. The plan is simple, dear abbot. I plan to lure Robin and his gang to my trap by holding an archery contest, the sheriff said, an evil smile curling on his lips. The abbot looked at his friend and shook his head, not sure if he had heard him correctly. Surely you are joking. Robin Hood wouldn't remain at large for this long, even though he is the most wanted man in England. If he were a simpleton, he won't fall easily for your trap. You underestimate the simplicity of this plan, Abbot. Trust me. I know Robin Hood. He won't be able to resist, the sheriff said, as he smiled and raised his mug to the abbot for a toast. To the capture of Robin Hood, the sheriff said loudly as he clinked his mug with the abbot's. The sheriff's plan came to him when he was watching an archery contest. During those days, archery was the most popular sport in England. Everyone in the land knew that the title for the best archer in North England belonged to Robin Hood. Given this, the Sheriff of Nottingham appealed to Robin's vanity to claim his title. The archery event was to be on a Sunday and was to be held at the grounds just outside the castle walls. The prize for the contest was an arrow, but it wasn't just any ordinary arrow. It was an arrow with its shaft made of white gold and feathered and tipped in yellow gold. A majestic prize that anyone would be proud of. Just as the sheriff predicted, the news of the tournament reached Robin. He was very interested in taking part in the competition. But more so than that, this event was another opportunity for him to outwit the Sheriff of Nottingham. For him, it was something better than the prized golden arrow. He blew his horn, a signal for his band to meet under the ancient yew tree. When everyone was ready and gathered around, he spoke to them. Men, I have exciting news for you. We are joining the archery contest organised by the Sheriff of Nottingham next week. I wish to take the golden arrow to Sherwood Forest. This is also another opportunity for us to put one over the sheriff, he said, showing them a piece of paper that contained the details of the event. However, instead of being met with the usual applause, there was silence. Robin Hood's outlaws didn't agree with his plan because they thought that the idea was a bit too bold and crazy. Robin, as your friend, I don't agree with this plan. It's obviously a trap that the sheriff set especially for you, Little John said to Robin, shaking his head. Don't worry, Little John. The sheriff made a promise that he will not lift a finger to harm us, Robin reassured his men. We will see in a week if the sheriff will keep his word, Little John sighed. He knew the sheriff never kept his word on anything. On the day of the contest, Robin came with 100 of his men, who were all in disguise. But he selected only the best 5 sharpshooters to join him in the competition. The others were to crowd around him, to keep him away from the sheriff's gaze, until it was his turn to shoot the arrow. As an added precaution, he wore a hood that concealed his face. The contest went on uneventfully until the competition reached the final 5 archers, 4 of Robin's men and him. When it was their turn, Little John, Much the Miller's son, and Will Scarlet all took their turn at aiming their long bow at the target. They hit the mark right in the bullseye. The crowd cheered. It was Robin's turn. He strolled from the crowd, his head bowed down. The sheriff was watching him from his chair, and he recognized Robin Hood right away. Not by his face, but by his confident stride. The sheriff grabbed the edge of his seat and leaned forward, his eyes never leaving Robin Hood. Take your prize, Robin Hood, and I will take mine, he said, smiling. He then turned to the captain of the guards and gave a little nod. This nod was a signal for them to be ready. The most wanted man in England will soon be in his hands. Robin Hood slowly aimed at the archery target, and his arrow split the arrow that was embedded in the bullseye. With this, he had secured his place as the winner of the tournament. When the competition ended, Robin, with the hood still on, went forward to the sheriff's tent to take his prize. When he accepted the golden arrow, he held it above his head for everyone to see. Word has gotten out that the real identity of the winner was none other than Robin Hood, the most wanted man in North England. Many people cheered, others booed. Still, others said nothing at all, in fear of incurring the sheriff's wrath. While Robin Hood was still holding the arrow above his head, the sheriff signalled for his men to crowd around Robin to capture him. Robin's men, the outlaws of Sherwood, were expecting this kind of betrayal from the sheriff, and they prepared their long bows, ready to fire. They shot their arrows at the sheriff's men, and the sheriff's men shot their arrows towards Robin's outlaws. In a split second, arrows flew in both directions, and even in the direction of the spectators. People who didn't want to get involved in the fight ran screaming to the safety of the city gates. Arrows from both sides were flying back and forth, and the arrows hit and injured people on both sides. An arrow hit one of Robin's best friends, Little John, on the leg. Much the Miller's son and Will Scarlet refused to leave him, even if Little John insisted. They took turns carrying the 7-foot man on their back away from the flying arrows. "Retreat! Men, follow me!" Robin Hood shouted above the surrounding chaos, while trying to shoot an arrow from his longbow. Robin and his men fought their way to the good knight's castle. Robin helped the honourable knight when he was down on his luck, and they became excellent friends after that. The castle was a sturdy one, made of thick slabs of stone, high walls, and with a double moat for added protection. When Robin and his outlaws were safely inside the castle, the good knight ordered his men to raise the drawbridge and close all the gates. The sheriff and his men arrived and surrounded the castle. But despite their numbers, they were not strong enough to break through the castle's defences. The sheriff threw his sword on the ground in anger. Inside the castle, the knight welcomed his old friend with a mighty hug. "Welcome, old friend. You and your men will stay safe in the castle, and you stay for as long as you want. Never mind the sheriff. Let his men lay siege upon us if they wish, for my castle is strong, and we have enough food to feast on for 40 days. The knight then ordered his doctors to tend to Robin Hood's wounded men, and in no time they were bandaged up. After a while, the sheriff realised that he was in no position to win this battle, and came to the castle walls, carrying a white flag of peace. He wanted to talk and negotiate. The knight, who was a gentleman, stood by the walls and waited for the sheriff to say his piece. "Good knight, do you want to be a traitor to your king? I'm sure that you know that you are protecting a criminal, and not just any criminal. The most wanted man in all of North England," the sheriff shouted angrily. "My dear sheriff, let it be known to all the land that I am protecting Robin Hood and his men. And there is no way that I am betraying my dear friend. Truth be told, sheriff, it is you who is the true criminal here, with your excessive taxes and unjust interpretation of the law," the knight replied. The sheriff was red in the face. When the knight finished his reply, "King Richard will know how you sided with an outlaw. You can count on that," he sputtered. He threw the white flag to the muddy ground and left in a huff, his men close behind. "I'll get you both for this," he muttered under his breath. "Very well, you do that, dear sheriff," the knight replied. He then went back to Robin and his men, who now settled in the great hall of the castle. "Stay as long as you want, old friend. I don't think that the sheriff will bother you for a while. He is too busy licking his wounds," the knight said, laughing. Robin and his men stayed for a few days at the castle, until his men recovered enough to walk by themselves out of the knight's castle. Robin and his merry men returned to the protection of the Sherwood Forest, and their life soon returned to normal. The only reminder of the almost tragic event was the golden arrow that Robin had shot from his longbow into the old yew tree. As for the sheriff, he is still plotting his revenge against Robin and his men, and who knows what kind of trouble he will bring Robin and his merry men next time. And that's the end of the story of Robin Hood and the Golden Arrow. I hope that you've enjoyed listening as much as I've enjoyed reading it to you. Good night, and see you again next time.